Amos 5. This is part 16 or something like that. Amos 5, and we'll be in verse 18. Now, we covered 18 somewhere sometime before, but I'm just going to read it for context. Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. In your house you're supposed to be safe. That's supposed to be your safe haven. He says here you go in the house and you get bit by a serpent. I'll tell you some of the scary things that they post. You'll find that these are all from India, I think, where the snakes come into the house. They come in through the sewer system and come out the toilet. I would not want to live there. I would sell the house, demolish the house. I'm gone. I don't like snakes. He's referring here to the second advent. He's saying when God decides to come back and level punishment on this earth for everything they've done to both his son and his children, it's not going to be a safe spot to be. Look at verse 5, or Amos chapter 5, verse 20. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? Okay, so that's not something to be looking forward to. Therefore, what everybody ought to do is not have to be around for it. That's our dispensation. Get saved and you won't have to see it from this side. You can see it from a safe distance, or from a horse behind Jesus. Amos 5, look at verse 21. God speaking, I hate, I despise. Now that's not words you would think would come from heaven. The sweet, lowly Jesus and lovely heavenly Father. No, I hate. There's some things he hates. I hate, I despise your feast days. Now those were not their feast days. If you go back to Leviticus there, they're called Feast of the Lord. He said, you've taken them over. They're no longer anything to do with me. They're your days. I hate, I despise your feast days. And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. That is, it used to be a place for sweet savor to the Lord, and it's not anymore. Look at Proverbs chapter 15. Proverbs 15, verse 8. I wonder what kind of stench comes up from earth on Sundays nowadays. People coming in for the wrong reasons, playing like they're worshiping God, but has nothing to do with God. Proverbs 15, verse 8. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21, verse 27. Now you know if God says something twice, he's not just taking up real estate. I think he does it because I got two ears and only one of them works half the time. Proverbs 21, 27. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? Oh. He says over there in, I can't think of the book, I think it's 2 Kings, that you're supposed to prepare your heart to seek the Lord. It's not enough to seek him. Make sure your heart's ready. Because a lot of people go to the Bible that way. They go to the Bible as though they're going to read into it and make it say what they want it to say. You go with a prepared heart. God, you tell me something. I'm here to listen. You're the instructor. That's the way you prepare. Look at Isaiah chapter 1. Isaiah 1 verse 10. Here's what happens when God gets mad. He doesn't stay silent. He speaks. And when he does, it's harsh. Isaiah 1:10. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom, and give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. Now he's not talking to Sodom and Gomorrah. You run up there. What is he talking about? All the last end of the kings there. How does that start? Somebody read me half of verse 1. Isaiah 1:1.
Vision of Isaiah,
The son of Amos, that he saw in the...
concerning
Judah. Judah.
In the days of Uzziah, so from
Ahaz, Hezekiah, and yes, he's talking about Judah. That's supposed to be the best of the best. Here God's calling them Sodom and Gomorrah. Ouch. He wasn't thinking too much of them there. That tells you how every age ends. It ends in apostasy. That's why you can look around and realize we're probably at the end of this age. It's gone crazy. Verse 11, to what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? Wow. You're giving a gift to somebody and they turn around and say, what'd you give this to me for? Okay, it's not really a gift they're giving to him. It's something they're doing to be seen. Unto me, saith the Lord, I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or of rams, or of he-goats. When you come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hands to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons, the Sabbath, the calling of assembly, I cannot away with it. It is iniquity. Even the solemn meeting. Just your getting together just makes me want to puke. Your new moons, your appointed feasts. He's the one that appointed those. They've hijacked it. My soul hateth. There's that hate again. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Whew. That's God saying, you can pray to me, but it ain't going to do you no good. I ain't listening. Now, it's not that he won't hear prayer. It's that there's a right prayer that has to be prayed. It's not, look how great we are and, vain words. The first thing to handle is the hands that are full of blood. Take care of that first before you lift those to God. Okay, he's not happy with Israel. Jeremiah chapter 6. Jeremiah 6 verse 20. I should have looked this up, but I didn't. Where's Sheba? Sheba, that's of Sheba. That's out, I have to look that up. Anyway, Jeremiah 6 verse 20. To what purpose cometh there to me incense from Sheba, and the sweet cane from a far country? Your burnt offerings are not acceptable, nor your sacrifices sweet unto me. Wow. God is not happy with the gift they're giving him. And obviously, they're just doing it for a show. It wasn't done correctly. It really sounds to me almost identical to Cain and Abel, doesn't it? Abel brings up a big production, Cain brings up a big production, but yet God rejected it. Wasn't what he wanted. Look at Hosea 8. Hosea 8 verse 13. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offerings, and eat it. But the Lord accepteth them not. Now will he remember their iniquity, and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. Faking like you're religious, God, it doesn't fool God. Matter of fact, it makes him mad. That's the lesson of the Old Testament. We know that, but it's hard to remember that for some reason. It's easy to go through motions without realizing why you're doing it. Why are you reading the Bible? Because that's God from heaven's words that he's instructing you on. And we should value them. Oftentimes, I'll read my Bible and then I'll think, what did I just read? I don't know. It went in, came right out. I wasn't paying attention. But then I had to scold myself. Y'all never have to do this, I know, but I do. I had to scold myself. Wait a minute now, John. That was God speaking. Were you not listening? What's wrong with you? Read it again. You got to do that. Malachi chapter 1. Malachi 1 verse 10. Who is there, even among you, that would shut the doors for naught? Okay, so you close a door for a reason. Growing up, you close it because they'll say you were raised in a barn if you didn't. That was the slang that my parents always did. Shut the door, were you raised in a barn? Well, what difference would that make? I still wouldn't shut the door. Okay. He says right here, you do things for a reason. There is a purpose behind everything you do. He says, neither do you kindle a fire on mine altar for naught. There was a reason for the altar and the fire that was on it. But they're not doing it for the reason that it was supposed to be done for. I have no pleasure in you, saith the Lord of hosts. There's that Lord of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand. Whew. These are some heavy passages. They're all through the Bible. Now, if he can talk to the people that he loved and came down and led around and defeated forces for, then you know he could talk to this way and does. So however you want to apply it, apply it. Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26 verse 31.
Where's this real one?
Leviticus 26, 31.
Sorry, thank you.
I will make your cities waste and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. Now, God has a different opinion of how things smell than man does. That's true. All of these sacrifices, we were talking about the other day, all of these sacrifices that had to be done, and all this burning of animals, I would say that stunk. Not God. He said that was for a sweet smell, a sweet savor. You want to know what a real sweet savor to him was? Look at it in Ephesians 5. Ephesians 5 verse 2. And walk in love, as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. Now, that outshone all of those Old Testament sacrifices. And if we're in him, we can count on it. That's a sacrifice that's acceptable. Not anything we do. But faking religious, you saw it when Jesus was on earth. He said, I watched them go in there and throw all their money in there and make a big show of it. And then some little old widow comes in with a couple of pennies and throws that in the plate. I think that's worth something. He said, I hate and I despise in our passage. That's back in Amos 5 verse 21. I hate and I despise. Let's just... I'm going to cover a bunch of verses because they're all the same sentiment, so we'll just do it once and get it over with. Amos 5 verse 22. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. That would be a good thing. If you have animals, you want them to be fat. I guess they don't nowadays. They put all these animals on diets and stuff. Just fatten them up. Let them have fun. I don't want them to live much longer anyway. Verse 23. Verse 23. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs. We're supposed to make a joyful noise. He's no longer thinking it sounds like a joyful noise. It's just a noise. It's annoying. For I will not hear the melody of thy viols, but let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. He said, that's the thing I'm looking for. Some judgment and some righteousness. Verse 25. Now this is where it'll take us some time to go through. Verse 25. Have you offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? Now that's an odd question to ask. None of these people were around when they went through the wilderness. He's aiming this at the nation, and he's pulling up the sins of their fathers that they're still committing. And he said, they were doing this in the wilderness, and y'all are still carrying it on. And we're going to get into it in a minute. Leviticus 17, verse 7. Leviticus 17:7. Leviticus, this is the giving of the law. It says, and they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils. So they've been doing that. Bad news. Why did God choose them? Didn't have anything to do with them. Why did he choose us? Didn't have anything to do with us. Because Jesus said we could come, and we said, yes, sir, I'm coming. He says, unto devils, after whom they have gone a-whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. So, no worshiping and doing sacrifices and oblations and all that stuff to other gods. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You get that message real clear when you read through the Old Testament there. That's a blatant thing. And Israel continued to do it all the way through. And I think back to that, and I think from my point of view, why would somebody bow down or worship a statue or some made-up thing? You look at throughout the years, not only Israel, but many nations have worshipped these made-up gods, astrology and all that stuff, the Greek gods, Zeus, all that garbage. I mean, come on. This nursery rhyme time? But they did. There's a supernatural satanic power behind it. And they'll soon be doing it again. Look at Joshua 24. Joshua 24, verse 14. We're at Joshua now. Obviously, they've made it into Canaan. Moses' time is done. Joshua's on the scene. Matter of fact, Joshua's about to go off of the scene. And here's what he has to say to them. Now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. And put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, even in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. He said, I know what some of y'all are doing. You still got those gods that go way back. Other side of the flood? That's some pure wickedness right there. We're talking about Genesis 6, and it'll come up in a minute. Nehemiah chapter 9. Nehemiah 9, verse 18. Nehemiah 9:18. I'm going to show you the very sad thing about this verse is it's blasphemy. Yea, when they made them a molten calf and said, this is thy... How do you spell that? Capital G-O-D. Wow. That was no reverence at all. I mean, I could have understood it if they'd said this is one of the gods, little g. No, they're saying this is God. Whew. That brought thee up out of Egypt and had wrought great provocations. Yeah, I guess so. That makes him mad. Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel 20, verse 16. Because they despised my judgments. Okay, that's a tough one right there. When God says this is right and this is wrong, he's not asking for our opinion. We don't get a say in it. That's his judgment. He's judged this is right, this is wrong. That's the big thing that's going to doom the next generation that's coming up now, is they think they have the right to decide what is moral or not. No, God has decided that. It's his judgment. And if we say anything other than what he said, then we're doing what this verse says, despising his judgment. And walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Sabbaths. For their heart went after their idols. Okay? You can see what's happening in the world around us. It's one more step, and they'll begin going after idols. We're on the brink. Amos 5 verse 26. Amos 5:26. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and Churin, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Whew. Okay, this star they made has haunted Israel from the beginning to the end. And I mean the end. This is the Star of David, and it's a curse to Israel. It's cursed them, and it's going to continue cursing them all the way through. Jeremiah 27. Jeremiah 27 verse 22. Jeremiah 27:22. They shall be carried to Babylon, and there shall they be until the day that I visit them, saith the Lord. Then will I bring them up and restore them to this place. Okay, so what is he talking about here? He's going to carry them away to Babylon. When did they go to Babylon? Nebuchadnezzar takes them to Babylon. Okay, so we can put a time stamp on that and date it and all that good stuff. Question?
Just listening to what you said about the Star of David. Because in Acts 7:43 it says...
Yeah, we're going there. Acts 7:43.
Okay, well, you go there.
Acts 7:43. That's next. Acts 7:43. Acts 7:43, and then put a finger back in Jeremiah 27:22. We got to do a little comparison. Do what? He says, Acts 7:23. Now, this appears to be a quote from the Old Testament. Almost. Acts 7:43. Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch. Isn't that what we read in Amos? Sure. And the star of your god Remphram. Only in Amos it was chimpanzee. Your god Remphram. Figures which you made to worship them. And I will carry you away, what's that? Beyond Babylon. That's not Nebuchadnezzar. Matter of fact, Acts can't be Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's dead and gone. So this is referring to whatever was their doom and demise in the Old Testament still persists, and it's going to require a further punishment. That'll be the tribulation. Revelation 17. Revelation 17:5. Revelation 17:5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay, that's where they're heading. And they're going to wish they hadn't been there. If Assyria was bad for them, and Babylon was bad for them, Mystery Babylon is going to be their doom. That's going to finish them off. Back to Amos. We should have picked this verse up the last time, but we'll get it now. Amos 5:27. Amos 5:27. We've seen all of the verses so far. We've seen Jeremiah say, I'm going to take you to Babylon. And Peter says, that's Stephen. Stephen said, I'm going to carry you away beyond Babylon. Now we're going to rewind even farther than that. Amos 5:27. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. Okay, what's beyond Damascus? That was Assyria. That was the Assyrians. Nineveh. That's where he's taking them right here. But you can see, whatever it is that's causing them to go down, they're holding on to. And God keeps kicking them farther and farther as he's trying to punish them and straighten them out, and they just won't let go. Look at 2 Kings 15. 2 Kings 15:29. This is what he's referring to in Amos. It's a historical event. 2 Kings 15:29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of, here it is, Assyria, and took Ijon, not Ijon, that John, and Abel Beth-Maacah, and Janola, and Kedesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. That's why we're in the Minor Prophets. Right now it's all about Assyria taking charge. Look at it, 2 Kings 17. There's another deportation they do. 2 Kings 17 verse 6. In the 9th year of Hosea, king of in the 9th year of Hosea, that one. The king of Assyria took Samaria, that was their capital, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halath and Habor, by the river Gozan, in the cities of the Medes. He's depopulating Israel, and he's taking them to other places and dumping a few here and dumping a few here. That way they don't get back together and start a revolt. Probably a smart thing to do. There's two. Go back to Acts 7 and let's pick up something. Acts 7:43. Acts 7:43. We actually, I think I need a verse right before that. Acts. Yeah, 42. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven. That's going to come back into play in just a minute. As it is written in the book of the prophets, O ye house of Israel, have ye offered me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness. What we just read in Amos. Okay, so he's talking about when they came through leaving Egypt. Verse 43. Here's what you did when you were coming through the wilderness. Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch. The tabernacle. We think of the tabernacle as the tabernacle of the congregation. That's not what he's talking about here. He said you had a place of worship for wickedness when you were coming through the wilderness. No wonder he destroyed them. Made them walk around another 40 years till everybody died. They were doing some wicked stuff. Look at it in Numbers 16. Numbers 16:24. Here's this tabernacle. Now, if you're not paying attention, you'll read right over this. I have for years. Numbers 16:24. Speaking to the congregation, saying, get you up from about the tabernacle of God? The Lord? No. Whose tabernacle is this? The tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. They got their own tabernacle. Not a good thing. So we've got denominations here in the wilderness. First and second tabernacle. Numbers chapter 16. Numbers 16 verse 27. So they got up, here it is again, from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little children. And God said, how about a bonfire? And he took care of business. But that didn't end it. They keep on with this tabernacle, this place of worship to false gods. That's been a thing that has haunted, I guess, every nation, maybe the exception of, till lately, America. Now they've got the satanic stuff they do, but I think we went many years and centuries without anything like that. They've all had these edifices that they dedicate to gods, big in India, and they'll have multiple gods in there, like they all want to be roommates or something. Exodus 33. Exodus 33, verse 7. Here's the real tabernacle. Exodus 33, 7. And Moses took up the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off. I always get a kick out of that every time I read it. Like he's throwing it out there. He just grabbed it and pitched it out. That means set it up. Pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that everyone which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp. Now that makes sense to me. Get outside the camp. Okay, that's what he's told Israel all through. Come out from among them. The cliques, the big crowds, are usually bad, because the common denomination is human nature. Okay, and that's no good. Look at verse 10. Exodus 33:10. Yeah. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle of the door, and all the people rose up and worshipped, every man in his tent door. And the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp. But his servant Joshua the son of Nun, the young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. Okay, so that makes it clear that's the one God put his stamp of approval on. There was another one that he didn't see fit to leave standing. But that wasn't the end of it. They put them up another one. Always got two going. This tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram is probably a dedicated false worship center. And that's what they did in there. 1 Kings 11. 1 Kings 11, verse 7. The devil is not real original. He wants everybody to go back to the same things. So here it plays out again. 1 Kings, wow. 1 Kings 11, verse 7. Then did Solomon build an high place for, there's that god, Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, that's to burn your babies, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Okay, so what's he doing there? He's building them a worship center. Crazy. That's what he talked about in Acts. He said, you took up your tabernacle of Moloch. The Jews had two things in the wilderness that they just wouldn't give up. We saw Joshua scold them about it. Obviously, Solomon got mired in the same situation. This probably is where they pick up the idea of this star. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why did they choose a star, the Star of David? Hitler didn't come up with that. It existed way before that. The star of your God. Okay, why is a God called a star? Okay? Because there's some element of truth to it. What did he say in Revelation? What are the stars? They're angels. Okay, so it means something. What's everybody in Hollywood want to be? A Hollywood star. A god people worship. And in Genesis chapter 6, that's exactly what happened. Look at 2 Peter 2. Mm-hmm. 2 Peter 2, verse 4. Second Peter 2, 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Okay, there's some fallen stars. They say to wish on a fallen star. Don't do that. That's as bad as the Catholics telling you to pray to a saint. Okay, no thank you. Okay, that's worshiping something that shouldn't be worshiping. Look at it in 2 Corinthians 11. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel, a star, of light. Okay, so it's an appearance there. And no doubt they've made appearances on this earth and been worshipped. Genesis 16, verse 7. Here's, this is Hagar, Genesis 16, 7. She decided she's going to run away. She got some new walking shoes. Those boots were made for running through the wilderness, I guess. Genesis 16, 7. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. Okay, this is, notice, it is called not an angel, but the angel of the Lord. Because there are other angelic beings, some good and some not good, that are out there. And just because a being shows up and is supernatural doesn't mean it's from God. Now God identified it right here. This is the angel of the Lord. So we know who it is. Colossians chapter 2. Colossians 2, verse 18. This is an important message for our age, and people don't realize it is, but it is. We're talking church age right now. Here's Paul preaching. Colossians 2, verse 18. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility. That is, don't be fake and humble. It's not humble. It's just the opposite. False humility. It sticks out like a sore thumb. He says, and worshiping of angels. Huh? Don't be worshiping angels. Okay. I can't tell you the number of books. I guess it would be hundreds on angels. People are real interested in the angelic beings. None of your business. How about that? Don't worship them. Intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. He said that's just a waste of time. Okay, this tabernacle here. Now, it's interesting that we've connected two things. We've connected the tabernacle of your God and a star, which we know could be a reference to an angel. Okay, what's a tabernacle in the Bible? Tabernacle can also be a reference to a body, something physical. Matthew 17. Matthew 17, verse 4. This is the Mount of Transfiguration. Peter just knows if he just starts talking, something good will come out. Matthew 17, 4. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. It's a good idea that you brought us up here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. Okay, so these beings had shown up. He's up there on the Mount of Transfiguration. You got the 2 witnesses and Jesus there. Transfiguration, Jesus is probably not looking like a human at this point. He was transfigured. Okay, so what's Peter's great idea? We need a tabernacle. That's what it means. That's what they did in the wilderness. Stay away from that. John 1 verse 14. John 1:14, and the Word was made flesh. He's referring to Jesus. Was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. He says something supernatural took on a shape. It took on flesh. It took a body, took a form. Okay, that's what they were trying to do with these angelic things. They're trying to prepare a place for them. It's a reverse of what Jesus Christ does in John chapter 14. He says, I go to prepare a place for you. You don't prepare one for me. I prepare one for you. Look at it in 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 5. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, and house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. That is, our body's going to be remade one day. You're going to get a new one. But he called it a tabernacle right here. He said this old thing that we're in right now is a tabernacle. One day it's going to look like a temple. 2 Corinthians 5, look at verse 4. For we that are in this, there it is again, tabernacle, flesh, do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, that is, don't just chop your skin off, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of, not death, life. That is, our next one, the better one, the one that goes on forever. 2 Peter 1.
Suppose it calls it a tabernacle in the New Testament because Christ is in it. Christ is in us.
There's good tabernacles and bad ones. 2 Peter 1 verse 13. Second Peter 1:13. Peter has figured out what he ought to be saying when he refers to tabernacle now. That's right. I like Peter. He's what comes in his mind comes out his head, or it comes out his mouth, and we all know it. 2 Peter 1:13. Yea, I think it meet. That is good. It's equal. As long as I am in this tabernacle, that is, as long as I'm dragging around this, bag of bones, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance. Okay, there he called it a tabernacle again. Now, this star of Israel that they worshipped in a tabernacle, and they've still got that star that they're worshiping now, and they've made it the symbol of their nation. I think if they were to have a symbol, they shouldn't have any symbol, but if they were to have a symbol, it would be the one that we find in Revelation, the candlestick. That'd be a closer representation of what the nation was supposed to be, but they shouldn't be having any symbols. Revelation 13. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. Okay, so the beast has a number. For it is the number of a man. Man has a number. And his number is 666. 666. What's man's number? Man's number is 6, singular. Okay, so Superman, a super duper human, something that humans would worship, would be triple that, because you're a triune being. So you're all man. That would be in yoga. That would be Kundalini yoga. You're aligning all of your chakras, and you've become a whole being. Okay, that's this right here, a 666 person. So what do they have? They have a star with 6 points on it. Star should have how many? 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. What would 5 mean? Yeah. So let's get rid of that. Let's add one more. Became satanic. They're going to carry it all the way through until Satan shows up and dooms most of them. But just like we found this morning, a remnant will be saved a little bit. All right, we better cut it off there, and we'll pick that up next time at verse 28.